Hi everyone. Today we are going to have Camp 16 Test 2 Reading Passage 3. Okay. How to make wise decisions. Across cultures, wisdom has been considered one of the most revered human qualities. Although the truly wise may seem few and far between, empirical research examining wisdom suggests that it isn't an exceptional trait possessed by a small handful of bearded philosophers after all. In fact, the latest studies suggest that most of us have the ability to make wise decisions given the right context. It appears that experiential, situational, and cultural factors are even more powerful in shaping wisdom than previously imagined, says Associate Professor Ige Grossman of the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. Canada. Recent empirical findings from cognitive developmental social and personality psychology cumulatively suggests that people's ability to reason wisely varies dramatically across experiential and situational context. Understanding the role of such contextual factors offers unique insights into understanding wisdom in daily life as well as how it can be enhanced and taught. It seems that it doesn't it is not so much that some people simply possess wisdom and others lack it, but that our ability to reason wisely depends on a variety of external factors. It is impossible to characterize thought processes attributed to wisdom without considering the role of contextual factors, explains Grossman. In other words, wisdom is not solely an inner quality but rather unfolds as a function of situations people happen to be in. Some situations are more likely to promote wisdom than others. Coming up with the definition of wisdom is challenging, but Grossman and his colleagues have identified four key characteristics as a part of a framework of wise reasoning. One is intellectual humility or recognition of the limits of our own knowledge, and another is appreciation of perspectives wider than the issue at hand. Sensitivity to the possibility of change in social relations is also key, along with compromise or integration of different attitudes and beliefs. Grossman and his colleagues have also found that one of the most reliable ways to support wisdom in our day-to-day decision is to look at scenarios from a third-party perspective as though giving advice to a friend. Research suggests that when adopting a first person viewpoint, we focus on the focal features of the environment, and when we adopt a third person observer viewpoint, we reason more broadly and focus more on interpersonal and moral ideas such as justice and impartiality. Looking at problems from this more expansive viewpoint appears to foster cognitive processes related to wise decisions. What are we to do then? When confronted with situations like a disagreement with a spouse or negotiating a contract at work that require us to take a personal stake, Grosvenor argues that even when we aren't able to change the situation, we can still evaluate these experiences from different perspectives. For example, in one experiment that took place during the peak of a recent economic recession, graduating college seniors were asked to reflect on their job prospects. The students were instructed to imagine their career either as if you were a distant observer or before your own eyes, as if you were right there. Participants in the group assigned to a distant observer role displayed more wisdom related reasoning, intellectual humility, and recognition of change than did participants in the control group. In another study, couples in long-term romantic relationship were instructed to visualize an unresolved relationship conflict either through the eyes of an outsider or from their own perspective. Participants then discussed the incident with their partner for 10 minutes, after which they wrote down their thoughts about it. Couples in the other's eyes condition were significantly more likely to rely on wise reasoning, recognizing others' perspectives and searching for a compromise compared to the couples is in the egocentric condition. Ego decentering promotes greater focus on others and enables a bigger picture, conceptual view of the experience, affording recognition of intellectual humility and change, says Grossman. We might associate wisdom with intelligence or particular personality traits, but research shows only a small positive relationship between wise thinking and the crystallized intelligence and the personality traits of openness and agreeableness. It is remarkable how much people can vary in their wisdom from one situation to the next, and how much stronger such contextual effects are for understanding the relationship between wise judgment and its social and affective outcomes as compared to the generalized traits. Grossman explains, that is, knowing how wisely a person behaves in a given situation is more informative for understanding their emotions or likelihood to forgive or retaliate as compared to knowing whether the person may be wise in general. So let us go to the questions 27 to 30. So it's like MCQs. What point does the writer make in the first paragraph? I go to the first paragraph. Across cultures, wisdom has been considered one of the most revered human qualities. Although the truly wise may seem few and far between, empirical research examining wisdom suggests that it isn't an exceptional trait possessed by a small handful of bearded philosophers after all. In fact, the latest study suggests that most of us has the ability to make wise decisions given the right context. So I go with the options. Yes, I go with option B because a basic assumption about wisdom may be wrong. So many people thought that it was the wise decision belonged to only a small handful of bearded philosophers after all. But they suggest that it's one of the revered human qualities that everyone can make wise decisions. So I go with option B. What does Iger Grossman suggest about the ability to make wise decisions? Suggestion regarding ability to make wise decisions. So see this. It appears experiential, situational, cultural factors or even more powerful in shaping the wisdom, says Iger Grossman. Recent empirical findings from cognitive, developmental, social, personality psychology cumulatively suggest people's ability to reason wisely varies dramatically across experiential and situational context. So again, I go with the options. Yes, I go with option C. The importance of certain influences on it was underestimated. So certain influences are nothing but this, what is it? Cognitive, developmental, social, and personality psychology. So certain influences on it was underestimated. According to third paragraph, Grossman claims the level of wisdom an individual shows. What is the level of wisdom? So see this, it's not so much people simply possess wisdom, others lack it, but our ability to reason wisely depends on variety of external factors. It depends on variety of external factors. Impossible to characterize thought process attributed to wisdom without considering the role of contextual factors. Wisdom is not solely an inner quality, but rather unfolds as a function of situations people happen to be in. So, yes, I go with option B, will be different in different circumstances. What is described in the fifth paragraph? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Grossman and his colleagues found that one of the most reliable ways to support wisdom in our own day-to-day decision is to look at scenarios from a third-party perspective, as though giving an advice to a friend. So research suggests when adopting a first-person viewpoint, we focus on focal features of the environment. And when we adopt a third-person observer viewpoint, we reason more broadly and focus more on interpersonal and moral ideas such as justice and impartiality. So again, I go to the options. Yes, they have recommended a strategy that can help people to reason wisely. That strategy is nothing but third party perspective. You understand? They give some strategy to follow to think wisely. So I go with option D, a recommended strategy that can help people to reason wisely. So next, questions 31 to 35. Complete the summary using the list of words. So they have given words. These type of questions, I have to find the answer from the passage. Then I have to find a suitable word for that from the box. Iger Grossman and colleagues have established 4 characteristics which enable us to make wise decisions. It is important to have a certain degree of dash regarding the extent of our knowledge and to take into account dash. So, certain degree of dash. So again, I go to this passages. So see this, Grossman and his colleagues identified 4 key characteristics. One is intellectual humility or the recognition of limits of our own knowledge. So it is important to have a certain degree of humility. What is the other word for humility in this box? Yes, I go with D, modesty. Regarding the extent of our knowledge and to take into account dash, which may be the same as our own. What should I take into account? So see this, sensitivity to the possibility of change in social relationship is also the key, along with the compromise or integration of different attitudes and beliefs. So I go with beliefs. So what is the correct word for belief from the box? Yes. A. Opinions. Take into account opinions which may not be the same as our own. We should also be able to take a broad dash of any situation. So again, I go to the passage. See this, another is the appreciation of perspectives wider than the issue at the hand. Wider is broader, a broader view. Okay, perspectives is broader view. I go with option C, view. So we should also be able to take a broad view of any situation. Another key characteristic is being aware of the likelihood of alterations in the way that people relate to each other. Grossman also believes that it is better to regard scenarios with dash. Again, I go to the passage. So see this. Grossman and his colleagues have also found that one of the most reliable ways to support wisdom in our own day-to-day decision is to look at scenarios from a third-party perspective, and we focus on the focal features of the environment that we adopt a third-person observer viewpoint. So focus on the observer viewpoint. So I go with better to regard scenarios with objectivity. By avoiding the first person perspective, we focus more on dash and on other moral ideas, which in turn leads to wiser decision making. So what should we focus more on? Again, I focus on interpersonal and moral ideas such as justice and impartiality. So we should focus on justice and impartiality. So what is the other word for justice and impartiality? G, fairness. And on other moral ideas, which in turn lead to wiser decision making. You understand? And see. Question 36 to 40 is going to be true or false not given. Students participating in the job prospect experiment could choose one of the two perspectives to take. So again, I go to the passage. So see this. One experiment that took place during the peak of recent economic recession, graduating college seniors were asked to reflect on their job prospects. The students were instructed to imagine their career either as if you were a distant observer or before your own eyes as if you were right there. Participants in the group assigned to a distant observer role displayed more wisdom-related reasoning, intellectual humility and recognition of change. Both are required, not either one. Intellectual humility and recognition of change than did participants in the control group. So what is there in the question? In the participating job prospect experiment could choose one of the two perspectives. Actually, we need both the perspectives, isn't it? Intellectual humility and recognition change is required. So this is contradicting the information, hence it is false. Could you able to understand? Participants in the couple's experiment were aware that they were taking part in the study about wise reasoning. So let us go to the couple's experiment. So see this, couples in long-term romantic relationship were instructed to visualize unresolved relationship conflict either through the eyes of an outsider or from their own perspective. Participants then discussed the incident with their partner for 10 minutes. So they wrote about it. Couples in other size condition were significantly more likely to rely on wise reasoning, recognizing others' perspective and searching for a compromise compared to the couples in the egocentric conditions. So I didn't find anything related to aware that they were taking part in the study about wise reasoning. There is no information, hence it is not given. Couples experiment, length of the couple's relationship had an impact on the results. So I didn't find that they had an impact on the results, which means that it is again not given. In both the experiments, participants who looked at the situation from a more detached viewpoint tended to make wiser decisions. So yes, I go with the paragraphs. See this? Couples experiment also, they viewed in from others' views, and also here they viewed as a distant observer, which means they viewed in a other's perspective, isn't it? To make a wiser decision, which means it's a true. Grossman believes that a person's wisdom is determined by their intelligence to only a very limited extent. So person's wisdom is determined by their intelligence to only a very limited extent. So see this. Wisdom with intelligence or particular personality traits, but research shows only small positive relationship between wise thinking and crystallized intelligence. And the personality traits of openness and agreeableness. So how much strong such contextual affects for understanding that shows that is determined by their intelligence to only a very limited extent. Small positive relationship is nothing but a very small, very limited extent. So the answer will be true. So I hope you're able to follow this paragraph. So with this, we'll end up the session here. Okay. Okay, bye.